So here we are again today with Dr. Robert Bleck, and I have talked to him before many times. Has been a wonderful collaboration, exploration of truth, of healing. It has been a wonderful, wonderful experience to hold space with you, Robert. And here we are today with the video interviews, and these are meant to explore the freedom to feel. What's freedom like from the perspective of feelings and emotions? That's the main question. And then how do we access that freedom? How do we maintain that freedom? And how do we integrate that kind of freedom? So, Dr. Robert, please introduce yourself. I would love to hear from you in your own words. Who are you and what is the purpose of your work?
I believe there's two parts of me that describe me. The first being, ever since I was a little boy, I've always been compassionate and empathetic and sensitive to those around me who suffered in some way, who struggled in some way, or who experienced injustice in some way. It always affected me very deeply. And there's a story I tell, and I remember it almost every day. I was about 9 years old. I was homesick from school, and we had a little black and white television I was watching. And Les Mis, the original black and white movie of Les Mis came on, and I watched it, and I just remember sobbing from all the injustice and pain that I saw in the characters. It takes place in France in the early 1800s, I believe, and it depicts the misery of the French masses of people. And it centers around two characters. One who steals, I believe it's a loaf of bread to feed his family because everybody's so poor. And this detective that chases him and tortures him and just agonizes him throughout life. And the pain of all the characters that surround this movie was really intense for me, and I never forgot it. So that really capsulizes the decision I had to go into the field that I do, to work with people who struggle, who suffer, who experience pain, and I try to help them emotionally heal from that. The second part of me is a part that gives me joy. The joy was never found for me in money or material things. What gives me most pleasure are the natural and simple things in life. Whether it's a hike in the mountains, I really love the mountains. And when I'm in there, I could smell the fresh air, the beautiful mountain air. I smell the earth, and I see the majesty of the trees, and it's so beautiful to me. I always said, if there is a heaven, this is it for me. So that's simple and lovely for me, and it still stays that way. Also, looking at a clear starlit night, I always like that since I'm a little boy. In the mornings before I start work, I get up really early. I have an exercise program, and then I go out and watch the sunrise each morning and listen to the birds sing. And it's just magnificent. It fills me with spirit and hope and motivation to go through my day. And I love a good cup of coffee and a good conversation. And I love holding my wife's hand to this day. I remember meeting her. We held hands when we first met. And today it's just still a simple, natural pleasure. So that describes me in the two parts.
Wow, that sounds wonderful. That everything. It's almost like hearing this ideal kind of beautiful experience to be a human being. It's integrated, peaceful, finding happiness in simple things and helping others. What a beautiful picture, like to even to contemplate. I'm thinking here, and I wonder. I do what I do because I wonder why some of us, or most of us, don't get to experience life in this way. And with that in mind, so I go back to the questions that I asked for this interview, is What is freedom when it comes to feelings and emotions, Dr. Robert?
It's a great question, Valeria. And also, I want to thank you for what you do. I admire your work in helping others heal, and I think that's astounding as well. So, and I
Thank you.
appreciate talking to you.
Thank you.
Freedom to me personally, and freedom for the people that I work with, who I try to heal, means expelling and releasing past uncomfortable and painful feelings that they've stored inside. Okay. So what happens when a person stores or represses or suppresses, I like to call it stuffing down any feeling, those feelings start to fester and they boil and they bubble and they turn into a toxic brew.
Right.
And what happens with the toxic brew then, it tries to come out in different ways. It will always come out, no matter what anybody tries to keep it down, it will come out.
Yeah.
It could come out in a phobia. It could come out in an addiction. It could come out in having obsessive thoughts.
Yeah.
It could come out in intense anger or rage. We see people on road rage all the time. So those people are suffering with all these feelings that they're not dealing with.
Yeah.
It could come out in somebody just being detached, split off from their feelings, numbed, blocked. Could come out in addiction to drugs or alcohol. It will always come out. People say, well, I've completed this. My father was mean and they abused me and he hit me with a bat, and they say I'm finished with it. But when I talk to him more, I see or her, no, they're not finished, because they're angry at the waitress for some minor infraction. So it's always there if you don't process it. It will always come out, and it will come out in disabling ways. So that's certainly not freedom. It's like a burden that you carry. It's like an anchor around you, and it's like a big weight that you have to process to let go. Then, when all those feelings are out and excised, you can be open to the beauty and the magic and the wonder of life, which I can do now. And I had to do this myself, get out these feelings as well. Whatever therapy I had tried, didn't seem to go deep enough. There was always something missing in it for me. So I kind of created my own therapy by those I worked with, and what I knew would work for me as well. It was a deeper process, and I created a 3-phase process to bring all these feelings up, release them, and then people are open and healed. And it's been successful, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the work I do. It takes time. People have to be willing to confront those feelings and feel those feelings. But nothing. You have to go through these feelings to bring them up. You can't just. Before we did this interview, I was working with on Skype. I was working with a woman I've seen for many years, and started in her 30s. And her father was an alcoholic, and she always felt the alcohol was always more important than she was. And anytime she would try to hug him, he would push her away. He would dismiss her. He literally threw her to the ground. So she felt unimportant, insignificant, worthless, inadequate. And no matter what she did, even to try to be a perfectionist, do whatever he asked for, he would still reject her. So she developed an eating disorder. And that lasted until she saw me. She tried different programs, weight programs, Eaters Anonymous programs, all these different kinds of therapists, psychiatrists, fad pop psychology stuff. None of it was working. So she just discovered me. I think she had read my book, and she discovered me, and we tried it. And I said, it's a result of feelings you store. So what is it you don't want to feel? She got in touch with it. And she worked hard for years, and now she's free from the eating disorder. She's starting to see the beauty that life has. She has grandchildren now, and she just loves it and is open to all of life. So that's an example, but it was difficult. She was committed to do the work. It felt right to her what I was saying, that you have to really feel these feelings. And she stayed with it. And at times it was painful, because she had to confront her father. That's part of the therapy. If that's the last phase of the therapy, and it was difficult for her to do that, but it worked, and she's really healed.
So it is, wow, it's all about processing. And I wonder if we had a lot of these feelings that we have accumulated, that we have absorbed and not processed, they were involuntary, right, Robert?
Yeah,
We
that's a
didn't
great
choose.
question. It's a great question. Thank you for asking that, Valeria. I always
Yeah.
appreciate you. So what happens to a child? I'll start at the really beginning of life,
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
like to do. The way I see it, we're all born totally innocent,
Mm.
totally pure, and just bursting with
Yeah.
sweet potential.
Yeah.
When I look at my little grandchild when he was
Ah,
born,
yeah.
there's nothing that overwhelms me and touches me with such purity.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
could have tears just seeing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so as sweet and pure as we are, we're also dependent and helpless on our caregivers for our care and our survival. We trust that they'll feed us
Yeah.
when we're hungry, change us when we're soiled, keep us safe from the world. Don't let us put our fingers in electric sockets. Don't let
Yeah.
us run in the street without being watched,
Right.
and don't keep them in a locked car when
Mm.
it's hot in the summertime. So we trust them to do that. And we trust them to encourage us when we're sad and disappointed, to be there to support us.
Right.
If the opposite, not to hurt us, we trust
Yeah.
them not to hurt us.
Right.
If the opposite happens and they do hurt us, they molest
Mm.
us, they beat us, they degrade us with words, humiliate us, demean us,
Mm.
everything changes. That
Yeah.
potential of sweet loveliness starts to turn sour.
Yeah.
Now, the and all kinds of feelings are created: shame and worthlessness and guilt and rage. All these feelings are really painful. Loneliness, emptiness. However, a child cannot possibly process this. It's not possible for the brain. The brain would go psychotic. The
Ah,
betrayal is so egregious that the brain
wow.
represses these feelings. So that's
Yeah.
what they do. It's survival. It's a
Wow.
child survival mechanism.
Wow.
So that helps them get out to where in the world, and then they start to get independent and they don't depend on their parents, but those feelings are still in there. They're
Yeah.
repressed and suppressed.
Yeah.
So when the people come to me, I often explain, look, whatever you did, you didn't do anything wrong, and
Yeah.
suppressing these was your way to survive.
Yeah. Right.
And now we just got to get those feelings out because they're hurting you now. So we need to get rid of them. So that's
Yeah.
how I explain it, Valeria.
Wow. So it is survival. And that's not just physical, it's emotional too,
Correct.
right?
Yes, it's emotional survival,
Yeah.
most of it. I do at this point. Because I mostly work with people, adults who are abused as children. So the parents are not beating them anymore. Their parents, some are dead, some are just
Yeah.
living different places. So it's mostly the emotional torture. And that is
Yeah.
torture, and it's tormenting to
Yeah.
everyone I deal with. It's agonizing.
Ah,
It's very painful.
yeah. Well, I have an idea of what it feels like, unfortunately, yeah, to be traumatized and to be betrayed
Yes.
at a very young age. So
And I
how do
hope I hope you're healing. It seems like you are, based on what I see. I hope that's
yeah.
true.
Yes, yeah, very much it is. It feels true at the level of the mind. The body still responds in a very interesting way around people. It's almost like it doesn't trust other human beings
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
And even when the mind is clear and really embraces a person, it still takes time for the body to feel safe.
Yes, because your body and mind, your brain still wants to protect you.
Yeah,
That's what's happening. It
yeah,
still wants to protect you.
yeah. It's
So
a
your abuse was severe, I would imagine.
Yes, yeah, it was, yeah. I
I
don't
would
want to talk
imagine.
about it, but I wrote about it. I wrote a book about it, and I kind
I'm
of
gonna read.
released.
I'll have to read that. Yes.
Yeah, I released most of those strong emotions, but
Good.
it's. I wonder if that ever goes away, because I feel I have done a lot of healing work, and uh, like I said, at the level of the mind of thinking, it's very clear and very peaceful. I love the things I do, which means that I found meaning and acceptance first and then meaning. But the body is still holding on to, yeah, some of that pain. So I wonder if it ever goes away.
the thoughts of it and the memories of it never go away.
Mm.
What leave even in my work is the intensity of the severity of what was done. If your body still talks to you, though,
Yeah.
the body is talking to you. I
Yeah.
always tell people to ask themselves, well, what is your body saying? If it's an arm or a
Mm.
leg, or your tears, if you have tears, what are my tears saying
Mm.
now? And then
Mm.
look deeper, and
Mm.
then you have just a little more to process.
Yeah.
So
So
that's how I look at it that way.
pay attention to the body and how it responds and the way that responds. In my case, it's belly aches. It's almost like feeling very nervous and for no reason at all, apparently no reason.
In the
And
present, no
in
reason
the
in the
presence
present.
of somebody that reminds me of my father or my mother.
Correct.
So there's something about them that in the mind picked up something was similar, and that not sure. I cannot explain exactly what it is that it picks up, but it's interesting to see the body reacting to it. It's become
Yes.
nervous, and then it's yeah, the body, it's definitely responding to the presence of somebody that's reminding me of something. But then I leave it at that, and I kind of interact anyway.
Right. If you were with me, working with me,
Yeah.
I wouldn't leave it there. I would say
Mm.
then you have to get in touch with who made you feel unsafe, who made you feel so cautious, and then I'd have you talk to that person. Either visualize them and talk to them, close your eyes, go back in time, you could talk to them.
Mm.
However, there are many ways that I would do that, and I do that with people.
Yeah.
And that's the last step of the healing process that I use in therapy.
Oh,
You'd
wow.
be talking to the person.
Mm.
So your body is talking, it needs to release more. You get in touch with, well, it was probably my father, but then I have you actually talk and visualize your father. I don't know who it was for
Wow.
you, but they go back in
Both.
time.
Yeah, both father and mother.
So
Ah.
I would have you go back to both of them and talk to them,
Mm.
however you would choose to do that.
Right. That sounds interesting. That's something that I never done. This a work that I never done. It might be the completion, right? That's called
That's it. You
phase
got it.
3, right?
That's
Completion.
exactly right. That's a hard phase
Wow.
for a lot of people, like scared, but it really completes the process.
Mm.
These three phases, they were unique because some therapies dealt with the first phase, which is with awareness. There was a number of
Yeah.
therapists that do that. Fritz Perls did it. He called Gestalt therapy. It was important to do aware. And then there's a lot of pop psychologists and theories that do that. Then there was the going back to the past and reliving it in going back in time. Freud did that, but he said that was enough. Each therapy was saying it was enough, but it wasn't enough for me to get the healing that I wanted. So I put in the third phase, which was going back to the source of the pain and confronting it. So that was the difference.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like an easy one, as you said, something to do. And with that in mind, a question that comes to me is how do we know the difference between trauma-informed behaviors, like in this case, the body responding the way it does, in my case, when I am in the presence of certain people, and when it's just a real situation. That person's not really, there's something about that doesn't make us feel safe. No one would feel safe around them, or they would have, or perhaps they would get that kind of feeling as well. So how do we know the difference between intuitive kind of responses and trauma-informed?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's not that easy to answer this one, but
Right.
what it is, if you have a lot of intensity, it's the intensity that you always have to look for. If you're just meeting this person and
Right,
right
right,
away
right, right.
you're seeing maybe their hair, or you're seeing their body or their movements, and
Yeah.
you're reacting that way, that stuff inside from your past, because you don't know
Ah,
them yet.
right.
You don't
True.
know them.
True.
Now, if I start talking to them and they're saying bad things, racist things, or whatever you want to say,
Yeah.
or mean things,
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna go away from this person. But if I have intensity right away, as soon as I begin to talk to them, I know somewhere, probably reminded me of my mother, who hurt me, something like that. I would know that doesn't belong with them. That's called transference. I would be just transferring that feeling.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
So it's the intensity. Look for the intensity if you don't know the person. If you have intensity, then it's inside of you.
Okay. So the intensity. So that means that we cannot trust, in a way we cannot trust, once traumatized, we cannot trust our own intuition. It's, I mean, when it comes to judging or making that judgment, that initial judgment about somebody that we don't know.
I agree. Yes, I would agree with that. It would be difficult to separate until
Wow.
you know this person.
Mm,
What when you get most of your stuff out, and the people I work with get all those feelings out, then they start to be able to process easier what person is okay and what's not. But
right,
all this stuff has to come out.
right.
But a judgment, if you're making a judgment about someone you don't know,
Mm,
even if they haven't spoken, then you know it's inside of you, and more
mm,
processing of those feelings from the source needs to be done.
right.
That makes
That
sense?
it does. It makes a lot of sense, and that is sad in a way because, in my case, I could not trust myself for many years,
Right.
especially with partnerships, relationships. There was really, there was a challenging truth to accept that I was not really able to trust the inside of me because I was
Yeah.
constantly seeing the past and all
Yes.
the wounds.
Yes. And you were seeing those people from that
Yes.
screen.
Yeah. Being
I
attracted
understand.
to them from that point of view or rejecting them, one or the other. So that was a very interesting time in my life. It might be still happening, but now it's different. It's very different.
I'm glad it's better for you. Yes.
Yeah.
I am
Yes.
glad.
How do you define trauma, Robert? How would you define what trauma is? That word, this idea of
Well, that word is anytime a person feels they're threatened in some way, whether they're threatened physically or emotionally, is trauma.
right.
That's what it is. Anytime they feel their life is threatened in some way, their life or their well-being, that's trauma.
Mm. And we all process experiences differently too, which means something that would traumatize me, perhaps it wouldn't traumatize somebody else. We're all very different, aren't we? In a sense of sensitivity of being.
Yes, and if you've been traumatized before, you're more vigilant about
Mm.
the trauma in the
Yeah.
first place. So you would
Ah,
be more vigilant. Yes.
yes, yeah. Interesting. And trauma is something that could happen to us at any time, at any age, right? We could be,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Anytime, any age. You people
Uh,
violated in the present, um, beaten, raped, in there go to war. So
yeah,
all of those things are traumatizing, and
yeah.
the
It's,
political upheaval in the country right now,
uh,
witnessing what we just witnessed, and watched on TV.
yeah,
It's traumatizing for people that witnessed it directly, and we see it on TV. It's a little traumatizing for me.
right. I try to avoid those situations, exposing myself even to current news, TV. I don't watch TV.
Yeah.
It might be that I'm very sensitive to all of it. So, but yeah, it is very sad. Do you want to make a comment about what's happening currently in this country and also in the world? Ukraine and Russia, they're still fighting, aren't they?
It seems mankind does that. It's the
Yeah.
rage, and I believe if people process who hurt them, we wouldn't have all this rage. So these people who have
Mm,
these guns are
yeah.
going in there, and someone dismissed them, beat them, abused them
Yeah.
in some manner. So we're
Uh,
certainly not working on that as a country. That would be the mental health part, but
right.
also the guns are not necessary either.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
agree.
need machine guns for
I agree.
everybody. That
I
doesn't make
agree.
sense. I
I
don't
agree.
believe that's what the Second Amendment said. It
Uh,
didn't. It said you could have a militia and you have a gun. It didn't say you could have machine guns or bazookas or tanks. We don't do that. So I
yeah.
think it could be attacked. It could be worked out. But you have all these congressmen. They probably have enough of their own stuff and pain inside, and
Yeah.
they get confused and they get angry, and
Yeah.
it seems to just go on and on. So I'm disappointed.
Uh,
I'm disappointed.
yeah, me too. And I have heard that what you just said, that hurt people hurt people. So when we are in pain, that's what we tend to do. We tend to hurt others. And now when we have access to easy ways to do that, then yeah, disasters, it's prompt to happen. And that's what
Yes,
we see.
yes, yes.
Wow. Thank you so much for your contribution to peace through what you do and how you do it.
You're welcome.
Another question I have for you. Oh, I had a question earlier. Yeah, I have heard, I actually mentioned that before when I was talking about myself, about the trauma, what I went through. But the last stage of trauma, resolving trauma, is meaning, finding meaning. Do you agree with that, Robert?
Well, the last stage in the trauma in my healing process would be completion. That releases those feelings, and the name of the book is "Give Back the Pain."
Yeah.
So you're giving back the pain of that. Well, if you release these painful feelings that have been an anchor for you and have colored your whole existence,
yeah,
it probably kept you separated from people and isolated and withdrawn. Meaning comes naturally. Then it starts to, you see the world in a different way.
Yeah.
You have a different perspective of life. You see it more beautiful. You see it like I see it now, and that gives meaning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how I would look at it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So from that place of peace, of releasing of the trauma and the pain, then and that's a giving to find meaning. I mean, everything becomes so much beautiful, right? We see beauty everywhere. Yes. I agree. So we talked about your book before, but that's what audio interview. So I'd love for you to talk to me a bit more about your book, Give Back the Pain, Emotional Healing Through Source Completion Therapy. The main inspiration of writing this book, and are you hosting any kind of events these days, Robert, that has to do with the book?
That's a good question. Okay, they were all good questions. The inspiration was trying to help the human beings that I was working with, and I was working for a while, years with these people, and I wasn't satisfied with the depth of the healing. I wasn't getting the long-term, deep healing that I wanted to get. Okay, so I figured out a way, and I figured out a sequence of things that worked, and some didn't, some did, and I figured out the things that worked the most, and it went into 3 phases. The first was awareness, the second was reliving and re-experiencing the trauma, and the third was the completion, as you mentioned. And I found these 3 phases were working, and I said, I want to help the rest of the world, not just the people that I'm seeing directly. So I wrote that book, did interviews all over the place for that, and television and radio. And I actually, it was really interesting. I just want to tell you about this one interview that I didn't expect. It was a sports show. We talked baseball show, football. It was a sports commentator that read the book, and he said, I really loved it. I love the book. I love what you're talking about. Would you come for an interview on the radio, on this radio? My host, it was called Halftime Howie was the name of the show at the time. So I went, and he asked me about Darryl Strawberry. Why did he turn to drugs? Why did he had everything in the world that he could possibly imagine. He had a great career. He was a great athlete. He was a home runner. He was a hero to the town. I said, well, he probably, I don't know him, but he probably had pain inside he wasn't dealing with, and he went to stuff it down to anesthetize it with drugs, whether it was smoking or cocaine, whatever he took. I don't know exactly what he took. And he had a lot of difficulty with drugs, and I know he went into rehab. And years later, I don't know him personally, but years later, he was doing an interview, and someone asked him the same question, Darryl Strawberry. What made you turn to drugs? And his answer was this: when people in my youth, when I'm a child, I'm a kid, tell me I'm worthless, it just stays with me. It just stayed with me. So I wanted to help everybody. I knew what I had. I knew this was a helpful thing. Got to get all those feelings from the past out, or it's going to haunt you and hurt you for your life. So that was the inspiration. And right now I'm so busy doing the individual and group therapy. I'm not hosting anything. I'm content. And something, if someone asks me, I'll do something. I'll do a workshop once in a while for professionals, but I'm content in what I'm doing.
Yeah, I love that word, contentment. That sounds like a healing word, doesn't it?
It is.
After we have healed, then we use that word more often.
Yes.
What about spirituality, Robert? Do you have any spiritual practices or views, ideas about life in yourself?
Yeah, I'm not a religious person. I don't like any ritualistic organized
Yeah,
religion.
yeah.
But I do feel we're all connected in some way. So
Mm,
that we're all made
mm,
of star stuff
mm.
with the materials from the stars
Yeah,
that's in all of us. So I
yeah,
believe we're all connected in a universal way, even
yeah.
the animals and the plants. I don't like killing even a bug. I don't like, people might be
Ah,
angry at this. I don't like people killing animals, shooting them. So
ah,
I think they deserve to be respected, unless they're going to eat them, I guess. But
yeah.
I just think we're all connected, and each living creature deserves respect, including plants. I don't
I
like to
love
hurt a
that.
plant, you know. So
Yeah, I love that. Are you a vegetarian? A vegan?
no, I not totally. That's my favorite
Yeah,
food to eat. I don't eat red meat hardly at all,
yeah,
but I eat chicken. Is my only.
yeah.
That's what I eat.
Yeah. I remember doing that for a long time because I had been hurt so badly physically. I ended up trying to heal myself in my own way by becoming a vegan because
Hmm.
I felt so bad about doing the same to the animals. Like, oh, I'm killing them.
Right.
That's not a good thing to do. And then I was for 5 years, a long time actually. And I was part of the PETA. I don't know if you have heard
Yes, of
PETA.
course, of
Yeah.
course, yes, yes.
And then I became part of that. And it was almost like an activist. And then I realized that I was not feeling good. The energy
Right,
level was not there. And that was not the lifestyle that was good for my body.
right.
And then I changed. Um, and then I was thinking about how, what made me change because I felt so strongly about not eating those animals, not hurting them. And then
Right.
there I was eating them again. Um, and then I noticed that was just not, it was not needed. I didn't have to do that in order to heal, to feel better about myself.
Yes.
That was an interesting experience because I remember throughout the 5 years, I was kind of craving meat, but hiding, like behind those philosophical ideas, ideals. So I was trying to kind of maintain something that was not true to me. That's when I knew that I needed more healing work. I needed to know myself well.
Right.
And that's another question that I often ask my guests on actually all interviews I host. What are the signs when we are finally there? We know that we're being true to ourselves, and that's okay to not be 100% good per se or right about everything in life. So would that be a sign of being healed when we know that it's okay to be who we are exactly the way we are?
Yeah, that's one sign. The other sign is you're not going to have these diversions anymore. Eating
Mm,
disorders, panic
mm,
disorders. You're not going to
yeah,
want to smoke. You're not going to want to drink to
right.
numb yourself. You're not. Your
Yeah,
panic attacks will leave. All of that
yeah,
goes away,
yeah.
and all of the, you won't feel the need to criticize everybody else
Right,
rather than just
right.
looking at
Yeah,
yourself. So all of those
yeah,
diversions, I call them
yeah.
diversions in the book. There's a list of them.
Yes,
So
you do.
they go away, and again, the people I deal
Mm.
with, they see them evaporate as they release the feelings, and that's the process, and it works. You know.
What a wonderful place to be. And I really try with these interviews, especially this one, the freedom to feel. I try to get to the core of it in the sense of what does it feel like to be you, for example. You have done so much work and you work healing others. So what is your relationship to your own thoughts when it comes to those memories? Do you still have the memories of the past? Do you still have those feelings coming up? How do you relate to them these days,
Uh,
if they ever come up?
yeah, they come up all the time. I don't have the intensity with them again. That's the
Right,
key. So,
right.
my mother was the one that hurt me. I believe I said that in
Yeah, yes, it
messaging.
did. Yeah.
Beaten, degraded, demeaned. I felt helpless and trapped, and all of those things. And I had to work as the way my people that I work with did. I'd tell her
Yeah.
and confront her and explain to her how she hurt me, and a number of times I had to do that with her.
Yeah.
And eventually she said, I regret it, and
Yeah.
I wish I could relive it and do it again. And
Right.
I when she was saying that, she was older, and I lost the intensity.
Yeah.
My intensity used to come out in anger, a lot of
Yeah.
in anger,
Yeah.
and I didn't like it. It also, I pushed people away at times with
Yeah.
that, and kept women away,
Yeah. Yeah.
who I might have had, I liked at times, So,
Yeah.
so I did that, and that all stopped. And when I felt I was cleansed, and I felt calmer, and I felt peaceful. Do I not think
Mm.
about it at times, what was done to me? And yeah, I do. I do think about that, but I don't have the intensity, and I don't have
Mm.
the rage that I had to her. I used to have actually rage.
Yeah.
One thing that comes up for me, though,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
was difficult until a few years ago. I processed it. I felt when I was 18 or 16, 17, I was able to just leave the house. I was
Yeah.
able to go to college, but I left my sister, who was there. She was 4 years younger than me, and
Yeah.
I always felt bad not protecting her as much as I could
Um,
have. I felt guilty about it.
yeah.
And I've talked to my sister about this, and she says, "Don't feel. I understood. I don't want you to feel that. You
Yeah.
have no reason to. I understand that, and I'm really okay. I'm fine. Mom didn't hurt me as much as she hurt you, and
Uh,
I'm fine with it. Please, Bob, don't hold this anymore." So I've been able to,
yeah.
through my sister, talking to my sister, feel better about that piece
Yeah.
of guilt that I have. So I'm really
Mm.
content with that as well at this point.
Right. That sounds really wonderful to me to know that you're there already. And also this beautiful insight about the intensity, yeah, the energy of anger, it's not there. Yeah, I have found that to be true as well. Yeah, I used to be very angry and very anxious around people and around those thoughts about the past.
Yes.
But then it disappeared. But I never had that completion. I never really talk to my mother or my father about these things. I tried. I made several attempts, but they wouldn't talk to me about it. So what I did was I wrote the book. I released a lot of those thoughts, what I wanted to be communicated, and also I went into a different kind of therapy in a spiritual sense. So I became a lot more a spiritual seeker, and then a student of life, and then I wanted to find out more about what the big picture of life. That has been my therapy in a way, Robert. Really, spirituality. I have found that life, it's both good and bad. We wouldn't have this experience with just the good. So I cannot
Correct.
accept people just because they're good and nice and kind. I need to also embrace the dark sides of them, especially the ones in the past, for sure. But of course, we don't accept abuse. I don't accept abuse from anyone.
Right.
I'm very aware of that, but I'm still kind, and I have. It's almost a kind of compassion too, knowing that they're hurt to be the way they are. They must be,
Yes,
feeling a
they
lot of
are.
pain. Yeah,
They are hurt. I'm
right.
glad your spirituality has helped
Yeah.
you healing and your process. I
Yes.
do want to say though, if you still have things in your body, source it, ask your body what it's saying, and then
Yeah.
you still could have your spirituality and also
Right.
talk to your parents. You could have both. There's no reason you
Mm,
can't do both.
yeah.
I tell all my people they can
Uh,
do whatever else helps them.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
yoga, they can do meditation, relaxation,
Yeah.
spirituality. It's
Right.
all good, but they still got to get these feelings out.
Yeah, you see, this is a very good advice, suggestion. I'm a professional one. And I tried before so many times with my mother, because I talk to her almost every day. But I see that she becomes hurt every time I talk about the past in this way. She wants to have a relationship with me now that's that's almost like a in the moment relationship. We are good now, everything's fine. So why you bring this up?
Right.
So and I think I stopped for that reason, because I don't want her to be hurt further. I'm sure she did what she did because she went through a lot of pain too. And I'm aware of that she had some challenging childhood. So in this case, what would you tell your clients? Like if I was one of your clients,
yes,
like, yeah, my mother, she feels so sad when I talk to her about these things. I stopped for that reason.
okay, so a lot of people have that in who I work with. They don't want to hurt their parent for a number of reasons. They don't want to see them. They're older. They don't want to see them hurt, and they also don't want to lose whatever thing they have with them now, whatever relationship they have. So they're concerned about that. So it is a question that they have. And I said, move through it. Ask you could tell your parent, look, this is important to me. I need to release this so I could be closer to you. It's getting in the way and I'm still hurt. I know it's hurting you, but I'm still hurt. So I would like you to listen to me if you can. Yeah. And then we could actually be closer and more intimate then. So that's something like I would say.
Yeah.
Makes sense too?
It does. Makes a lot of sense. If I was still hurt, yeah, for sure I would have tried. I would try it again. Yes. Yeah, I tried to make sense of all these things. I think I never did therapy, but I definitely needed for many years and I never done it. I just found my way. And it is interesting how, we find our way. I love the idea that life is very supportive of itself. It's always trying to flourish somehow.
Yes. Well, you also looked for it. You also were looking for ways to heal yourself, and
I do.
So that's admirable for you.
Yes, I'm very curious about what can we do to have a more peaceful, a more free type of life from within? So we are free to just experience this in a more joyful way. Yes. We're almost at the end. And I do have a few more questions for you, Robert. It's not really, it might be a question, but it's more of a quote that I have found. And some people that I have interviewed, they have said some interesting things. I heard that trauma is an incomplete experience. Have you heard this before?
No, I don't even know what that. I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means. Do you?
It kind of made sense to me when I heard it, because what I felt from my experience with trauma, with all the painful experiences I had, is that I was always trying to go back to fix it or to make it better. So it resonates true, because it feels like I had an incomplete experience, or that was the way that my brain perceived in the mind. And now I walked through life trying to complete that experience, to make it whole again. And that's what caused so much more trouble, actually, trying to complete the experience from an unhealthy perspective.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right to me. See, that doesn't make sense to me.
Okay. And another quote I heard is, the goal of all healing is to release fear.
Well, I think that's maybe a little simplistic. There's more fear. There's more than fear that my people have. They have anger, and they have feeling inadequate. They feel worthless. They feel shame. They feel defective. They feel lonely. So they feel. Some of them feel guilty and evil if it's sinful because they were abused sexually. They feel so. It's not just fear. It is a whole cascade that I just listed. It's too simplistic to say that's the way I feel about that quote.
Yeah, the goal of all healing being the release of fear. It made sense to me, I guess, from the perspective that almost all feelings we have that not bringing us to this state of joy, of freedom, it's connected somehow to fear. We're afraid of something. There's something holding us back.
I guess you could say that. Yes, I would see how you're saying that. It's just I'm dealing with all the feelings. I want the people I work with to identify every feeling. So if you just narrow it down to fear, they're not looking further at the feelings I just mentioned. Yeah. So that's the way I look at it. The way I heal others. Fear's in there. Also terror. It's one of those. It's under terror. They're terrified, a lot of the people, from their experience. That's just one feeling.
Right. Also fear, we need to label those feelings in order to explore them.
Correct. Each feeling I want them to express. I had one person came in, they had no idea. I asked them what they were feeling. They said, I never thought about feelings.
Oh, wow.
And it took a while, and now they can identify each one of those feelings that they felt and how they were hurt. And it took them a while. So if we just identified fear, it wouldn't be enough for this person.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, it depends on our understanding of what fear is.
Yeah.
Thank you for your inputs on those. And I do have the ending questions. I want to thank you again for your presence in our reality, in this world we live in, that we need so much of healing energy in a sense of love. I really see life in that way. Love being this feeling of unity with everything. So we can't hurt ourselves, others, or anything if we are in love with life. So thank you for being part of this world of love, of sharing love.
And thank you
as a therapist.
And I thank you for who you are and how you've healed. And it's just been an honor and a pleasure for me to know you.
Thank you so much, Robert. I feel the same way. And my last questions are, I'll ask you this one. If there is one message from our conversation today you wish everyone watching this interview to take with them, what would that message be?
Okay. Don't ever repress, stuff down a feeling, even if it's something you have in the present. It will only fester, and it will come out in disabling ways. Don't ever suppress it. Be honest, always, even with your children. Just be honest. Don't ever suppress those feelings. Always talk to them with honesty and love.
Wow, I love that. Anything can be said, and with love, it makes it possible, doesn't it? We can tell the truth in a loving way.
Correct.
I agree 1,000,000,000%. Yeah, I call it kindness, just being kind.
I agree.
And before we say goodbye today, where can we find more information about you, your books, your work, services, and future projects?
Let's see. My website is robertbleck.com. And that's it's the website, so you could find a lot of information about the book. You can get it at Amazon or other bookstores too. And it goes into explaining the therapy also on my website a little bit. And that's it. And my email is on the website too. So if you need to contact me through the email, it's there as well. It's roberttbleck@gmail.com. That's my email address.
Wonderful. I'll have those informations under the video interview. When it's posted, it will be there too. Thank you so much again for your presence, and take care of yourself, Robert.
and you as well, Valeria. My best always, every minute.
Thank you so much. Bye for now.
So long.